Have I heard that before? The Golden Witch. Now I remember. That was the scary witch who would snatch you away off into the forest. If you didn't listen to your parents or stayed up too late on Rokenjima.
雨の夜、真っ暗な森を窓から眺めてると、魔女と目が合ってさらわれてしまうかもしれないってお母さんに言われた。
ということは、わらわは夜更かしの子供を見張るため、寒い雨の中、窓を一つ一つ覗き込まねばならぬというのか。
Yeah, something tells me that that was Erika's job, not Beatrice's job. Erika can handle rain like quite well, from what we've seen. We have objective evidence for that.
それはあまりに無体な。
確かに。エンジ、それはお前に夜更かしをさせないための親の作り話だ。彼女はそんなことはしない。
よかろう、名乗ろうぞ。わらわは黄金の魔女、ベアトリーチェ
のお孫さんだ。
孫？
お孫さんとはなんともしまらぬ呼び名であるな。
I'd argue it's more than just a damper, but I don't think that Angie needs to hear about that kind of topic right now.
だってそうだろ。じい様に黄金を授けて黄金の魔女と呼ばれたのはお前のばあ様の話だろうが。
確かにそうではあるが、黄金の魔女の孫か。そのキャッチコピー、もう少しマシなものにはならぬのか？
この人、魔女なの？
ああ、そうだよ。今日の親族会議に招かれたお客さんだ。
怖い魔女じゃないの？暗い森に私をさらったりしない？
just taking you into the forest? I've seen her do much worse before. Like, yeah, she's not gonna take you into the forest. You have my word on that.
おのれ、ルドルフに切り絵め。一体わらわを何だと思って吹き込んだのやら。わらわはそんなことはせぬわ。後で厳重に抗議する。プンプン。
She looked like a very emotional person, but she wasn't at all what Angie had expected a creepy golden witch would be like. She was very loud, overreacting to everything. Nothing at all like the witch Maria One-chan had talked about, who had lived for 1,000 years and had various servants from the demon world. She looked, well, like an energetic young woman whom Angie's mom might have been good friends with. Her brother and the witch talked together happily like a pair of close friends. Dogs often don't trust people when meeting them for the first time. However, people say that dogs feel more at ease with a person once they see their owner acting friendly towards them. Surely, something similar to this was taking place in Angie's heart. As this pushy, temperamental woman who called herself a witch chatted happily with Valor, Angie watched her behavior closely.
その鍵は？
Beto noticed the gold key hanging from Angie's neck. Angie automatically grasped it defensively.
エンジの大切な鍵だ。
After hearing these vague words, the witch stared blankly for a second. But almost immediately, she seemed to understand what he meant.
なるほど。そういうことか。
すべきことを明確にした方が分かりやすいだろうと思ってな。
安心せよ、エンジ。そなたの大切な鍵を奪ったりなどせぬぞ。
本当に？
もちろんであるとも。それはそなたの鍵であり、そなたが決めることである。バトラム、 そしてわらわたちもそなたを導く道しるべの役にしか過ぎぬのだから。
When handing her this key, her brother had said that it was very important that she had take good care of it. Angie didn't have a clue what the key was for, but it looked like Beato did. However, just like her brother had done earlier, Beato only spoke in riddles. This irritated Angie, but for the time being, the Golden Witch had said that she didn't intend to steal this key, so Angie calmed down a little.
あなたはこの鍵が何に使うものなのか知っているの？
もちろんであるとも。だがそれを教えるわけにはいかぬ。
どうして？
その鍵をどう使うかはそなたが自分で決めねばならぬからだ。
The witch said the same thing as my brother. The pair nodded to each other, but it was all Greek to me. It felt like someone had laid out a riddle that everyone knew but me, and everyone was making fun of me.
やがてわかる。無理に考える必要はない。
Angie held the key tightly. Even if she didn't understand what it meant, it was her own key, and her big brother had told her to take good care of it. With her youthful suspicion, she was scared that the witch might ask her to hand it over, saying that she'd teach her how to use it if she did. Of course, her thoughts showed up clearly on her face. The witch couldn't help but laugh at that honest expression.
安心せよ。そなたのその鍵は誰にも奪うことはできぬのだ。
誰にも奪えない？
そういう魔法が込められているとでも理解せよ。とにかく安心するがよい。わらわもバトラも、そして島の誰もそなたから鍵を奪うようなことはせぬ。
本当に？
ああ、本当だよ。そういう魔法がかかってるんだ。
The key was hanging around her neck like an ordinary necklace. Angie could take it off right now if she wanted. And if an adult tried to use force, it seemed like it would be easy for them to take it away. However, both her brother and the witch said that it was protected by a magic that would stop anyone from stealing it.
魔法なんて本当にあるの？
Even the 6-year-old Angie knew about the word magic. However, she also realized that real magic didn't exist, and that certain kinds of magic tricks were sometimes called magic. However, her brother and the witch were talking about magic itself.
ああ、魔法は存在する。
本当に？
マリアもよくわらわのことを話しているであろう。魔女はいると、魔法は存在すると、そなたによく語ったはずだぞ。
True, Maria had talked about that many times. When it was part of a game, Angie had believed her, more or less. However, Angie was, in some ways, sharp for her age. And when she heard Maria talking happily about magic, she sometimes thought that such a thing couldn't really exist. Oh, I know that all too well. Sometimes I do think that she's taken it from Kirie.
なら見せて。
ん？
見せて、魔法。じゃなきゃ信じない。
おいおい、レアとは島に来たばかりでまだ屋敷に挨拶にも行ってないんだぞ。
Matter spoke as though he was trying to smooth something over. When she heard that, Angie became sure that magic didn't exist after all.
魔女なんて嘘っぱち。エンジェは知ってるもん。
おい、よすんだ。ベアトが気を悪くする。
よいよい。魔女に会えば誰だって同じことを問うだろう。いつもならば このような幼子の挑発に付き合いはせぬのだが、バトラの妹であるからな。特別に披露してやってもよい。
いいのか？
よいよい。では見せよう、エンジ。
うん。
Though Angie had challenged the witch to show her if she could, now that she was about to be shown, she looked a bit hesitant. She gulped, then stared up at the witch's face. The witch held out her left hand, bringing it close to Angie's face. Then she slowly spread her fingers. Angie, thinking that she was about to be turned into a frog, shrank back. However, after waiting a while with her teeth clenched, she realized that nothing was happening. So, as her fear turned into irritation, she began to argue.
何も起こらないよ。
早とちりするでない。まだ魔法を使ってはおらぬぞ。ほれ、わらわの手のひらをよーく見るがよい。種も仕掛けもないな。
Well, so that's what she was doing. Now that she finally understood, Angie checked both sides of the witch's hand.
うん。何もないよ。
よく見ておれ。こうして握る。そして人差し指を立てる。
She stretched out her index finger and held it right in front of Angie's eyes. Angie, refusing to show weakness by pulling back, stood her ground and concentrated on the fingertip.
人差し指の先をよーく見ておれ。行くぞ。早いぞ。
The witch rapidly lifted her index finger high into the air, pointing at the heavens. Just as Angie looked up to see the finger raised high, it swung down as though trying to dodge her gaze. In that manner, the finger swung up, down, left, right, then left again, as though Angie was playing a game of Achi Mui Tehoi. It's like she's doing a magic circle in the air, feeling as though she'd lose if she couldn't keep up with the fingertip. Angie swung her face this way and that, looking serious. Ever since she was very young, Angie had always hated to lose. She would take even the most trivial games seriously, determined not to lose to the adults. The witch's hand moved faster and faster. Angie didn't lose track of it. Then, the witch's high pointing finger took a sudden swing downwards. And when it stopped, her index finger was called up, and her hand was held in a simple fist. Could it be that something was going to come out of the hand? Angie, suspecting that this might happen, had followed the finger very closely. And there had been no chance for that once empty hand to grab something.
よいか、手を開くぞ。
The witch slowly opened her right fist. And there!
どうして？どうしてお兄ちゃん？
The witch gave the cutely wrapped candy to Angie as a present. Angie took it and desperately searched for some kind of trick on it, but it was just an everyday ordinary candy. Nice.
どうして？手品でしょお兄ちゃん。お兄ちゃん。
いや、魔法だよ。エンジェもずっと見てただろ。
I was watching the whole time. So how? She didn't like it, but she wasn't able to see how that could have been anything other than magic. As the little sister furrowed her brow and bit her lower lip, her brother gently told her once more that it was magic.
そろそろ屋敷へ挨拶に行く。バトラも付き合うがよい。わらは一人では窒息してしまうわ。
そうか。じゃあ、お供させてもらうかな。エンジェはどうする？ ゲストハウスに戻ってるか？
お兄ちゃんと一緒がいい。
She still couldn't accept it. But maybe, just maybe, she still looked grumpy. But it looked like she was becoming at least slightly interested in the Switch.
さあ、では行こうではないか。黄金の魔女の帰還であるぞ。
黄金の魔女の孫の帰還だけどな。
そのキャッチコピー、もう少しなんとかならぬものか。
Yeah. The big brother and the witch really did seem close. Playing off each other like a pair of comedians, they started heading for the mansion. All the while, Angie held onto the corner of her brother's sleeve, trying to make sure he didn't forget about her. The VIP room was filled with the sweet smell of pumpkin tea, and packed with smiles and laughter.
それはよい。元気そうで何よりだ。
そなたも元気そうで何よりだ。余命いくばくとは肩払いたいわ。
そなたに元気を分けてもらってるだけだ。書斎に戻れば枯れ果てた年寄りが窓辺でほうけているだけよ。
そなたの死ぬ死ぬ詐欺にはもううんざりしている。もう諦め、100まで元気に生きると誓ってしまえ。
俺もじい様には6年ぶりに会ったけど、全然変わってねえんで驚いたもんな。
ぬっははは、バトラめ。この6年で世辞まで学んだか。
Better. Well, he is the type, though don't expect his flattery to actually work at times.
残念だがそれは節穴というものよ。しっかりかっきり老いぼれておるわ。
金蔵が100歳になってピンピンしているのに1000円かけるぞ。
ああ、俺も100歳になってもじい様は今と変わらないさ。
これ以上褒めても何も出ぬというのに。
Kinzo laughed cheerily. Bato, who sat next to Barrier, was also laughing merrily. Angie stood all alone by the window, staring at the others and trying to figure out what sort of relationship the witch or the portrait had with her grandfather. There was a knock on the door.
源氏か。入るがよい。
失礼いたします。クラウス様と夏日様がお越しでございます。
お父さん。おお、バトラ君も一緒かね。
ご無沙汰しております、ベアトリーチェさん。おかわりはありませんか？
相変わらずであるわ。さあ座れ座れ。エンジェもどうしてそんな窓際にいるというのか。こっちへ来て座るがいい。
エンジェ、こっちにおいで。
ここで見てるからいい。
Angie grasped the candy she had gotten from Battle tightly. And with a still wary gaze, she continued to stare. Genji offered her a chair, but Angie just shook her head.
好きにさせてやりなさい。さあ、クラウスも夏日もそこに座るがいい。
何か重要な話でも？俺とエンジェは席を外した方がいいかな。
おいおい、そなたが帰ったらわらわは誰に相槌を打たせればいいというのだ。金蔵、バトラがいても構わぬであろう。
隠す話でもない。構わぬ。
However, he had called Kraus and Natsuki to the VIP room to meet Beatrice, the Golden Witch. It was hard to imagine that Kinzo wanted to have a casual conversation. After Kinzo said he didn't mind, Battle also asked Battle to stay, so he decided to do so. In order to avoid getting in the way of their conversation, Battle stood up from the sofa and walked over to Angie's window. When the big brother finally came back to Angie, she clung to his waist, as though determined not to let him go away again. Oh, too precious. Christ.
ああ、なるほど。どうしてわらわがエンジェに嫌われているかわかったぞ。
どうしてだ？エンジは別にお前のことを嫌ってなんかないだろ。
I think that Angie is afraid that Beatrice is gonna steal you away. Which, sorry, I was going for an innocent little joke there, but I guess it hit home like a little too much there.
これだからバトラは女心がわからぬのだ。
Battle smiled at Angie, but let her turn to look the other way.
女は幼くとも女であるな。
When Battle stopped laughing, the conversation switched gears. Why on earth did Kinzo summon Kraus and Natsuki to the VIP room? And what was he going to talk about? Everyone fell automatically silent.
黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェよ。滅ぶ運命にあったはずの後ろ宮家を救ってくれた大恩、一日たりとも忘れたことはないぞ。
感謝せい感謝せい。
じいさまが感謝してるのはお前のばあさんの方だからな。
やかましい。
いいや、同じことです。莫大な黄金を3代にもわたり後宮家に貸し付けてくれました。それも無償で。
本当にいくら感謝してもしたりません。
黄金などわらわにはレンガも同じよ。置き場もないから金蔵が預かっててくれて助かる。
ひゅー、死ぬ前に一度は言ってみたいセリフだぜ。
黄金の魔女ってお金持ちなの？
そりゃそうだな。何しろ10トンもの黄金をほいっとじいさまに貸し出したんだからな。
Indeed. Like, after all this time of carrying all that gold with her, I wouldn't be surprised if she has, like, back pain from that, too. Her big bazongas are not the only golden lamp she has in possession.
そうだ。必ず返すと約束し、もう数十年も借りている。
Yeah, see? Even Kinzo agrees with me.
その恩がもはや返しきれないほどだ。
当家が感謝の気持ちを忘れたことはありません。ねえあなた。
無論だとも。3代にわたりベアトリーチェさんたちが気前よく貸してくれなかったら後宮家はとうに滅んでいましたと。
Man, now that I'm thinking about it, this game has the family at its most peaceful time. Meaning that Kinzo can easily help the family with money issues. Which includes financing Kraus's moon tourism. Hell yeah. And, you know, maybe it could work. Moon tourism is gonna work. We are gonna eventually populate the moon, and afterwards Mars too. And Kraus becomes so delusional because of how much power he has. Because of how much power he's gaining out of this. He would reach the conclusion that we don't need Earth anymore. And decides to have it go boom.
Pardon me again, Doc, but just what did you mean by that crack about the Earth being gone?
Oh, I'm going to blow it up. It obstructs my view of Venus. Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
ラツワンのお父さんとて軍資金がなければ何もできなかったのですから。
もはや金が金を呼び、黄金の軍資金は静かに眠るのみだ。クラウス、私が何を話そうとしているかわかるか？
Since the moment Kraus had been summoned here, he had guessed about the things Kinzo's words now hinted at. All things borrowed must someday be returned. And that day had finally come.
はい、わかっています。お父さん。
ベアトリーチェよ。私はもう追い先はわずかだ。おそらく今日のこれが私とお前が会うことのできる最後の親族会議になろう。
何を気弱なことを。そんなことがあろうはずもない。
Bato alone left. She looked at Bellin, so he left along with her, but Kinzo and the others remained silent. Apparently, there existed some major concerns about Kinzo's health.
無論来年すぐに死ぬつもりもない。しかし来年会おうと絶対の約束をすることはおそらくできぬ。私はいついかなる時でもできぬ約束をした試しは一度もない。
そのようなことを胸を張って言われると、わらわも返す言葉がないぞ。本気で言っているのか？
ベアトリーチェよ、もうしっかりとけじめをつけたいのだ。私がこうして元気であるうちにな。だから私は今日それを決心することとした。
おじい様は何の話をしているの？
静かに。じい様は今からとても大事な話をする。
By now, even Bella understood what Kinzo was about to propose. Dato probably realized it too. At one time, the Ushirimiya family had ruled the skies like an eagle, before being crushed in the Great Kanto earthquake. The eagle had one of its wings torn off, and it crawled in the mud, on the point of death. Then, they were saved by the Golden Witch's golden miracle. Under the Golden Witch's protection, the eagle had nursed its wounds for many years. And now, finally, it was time for the eagle to leave the nest the witch had provided.
そなたの祖母より借り受けた黄金をすべてそなたに返還する。クラウス、異論はないな。もとよりあの黄金は後宮家のものではないのだ。
無論です。何の異論もありませんと。
良いのか、クラウス。そなたは投資家であろう。金はいくらあっても足りぬであろうが、金蔵から黄金を譲り受けたいと思っていたのではないのか？
それを言われれば確かに否定は難しい。しかしもとより父とあなたの契約であり、そしてもともとあなたの黄金です。
主人は仮にも次期当主、お父様が一代にて当家を復興させたように、主人も一代で当家を繁栄させるでしょう。そしてそれは主人と私で成し遂げることです。
よくぞ言った。その意であるぞ。
10トンの黄金に未練はないというか。やれやれ、大したものよ。黄金の魔法が効かぬ相手には魔女も型なしであるな。
そなたに黄金を返還する。だが 黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェが後宮家にとって最大の恩人であることは未来永劫変わらぬぞ。
To return the gold once lent by the Golden Witch. It was both simple and clear. However, the expression worn by the Golden Witch herself was slightly lonely. Actually, before we continue with this, let me see about this tip right over here. What is Achi Muite Hoi? Is a popular Japanese variant of rock papers. Oh. Whoever throws the winning hand sign does not immediately declare the winner, but rather earns the opportunity to win, while the other player must try to avoid losing. The player with advantage says Achi Muite, look that way, and then in time with a call of Hoi. He or she points one finger either up, down, left, or right. At the same time, the other player turns their head also in one of those four directions. If the player with advantage correctly predicts which way the other will turn, they win. Otherwise, the process returns to the beginning with another round of rock, paper, scissors. Sounds a bit more complicated than the one I know, but okay. I understand the reference that they were making with Beatrice's hand signs that she did while she was doing her magic. And she couldn't understand why this was.
返すというものをいらん、やるとも言えぬしな。やれやれ。
Nato rose from the sofa. Then she walked up to the window and looked down at the rose garden, waving in the wind.
クラウスよ、我が遺産についても私が生きているうちにお前たちに贈与することにした。
お父さん。
私が死ねば葬式で大忙しな上に遺産はどうするのかとエヴァたちががっついてくるであろうが、今から分けておけば葬式が気楽になるというものよ。クラウス、メモを取れ。源氏も書記を頼む。これより財産の分け方を説明する。
Moon tourism, here we go. Kinzo immediately began explaining how the inheritance would be split up. Balor, realizing that he shouldn't be listening in on this conversation, walked over to where Beto was loitering by the window.
よう、大金持ち。黄金が余ってるなら少しは引き取るぜ。
黄金など薪に変えて炉にくべればシチューを煮る程度の使い道はあるというものよ。
どうしたよ。なんだかつまらなそうな顔してんな。
とうとうこの日が来たか。寂しいものよな。
うん。そうか？
わらわの魔法で後宮家はよみがえり、そして六軒島は生まれた。その後宮家がもうわらわの黄金の力には頼らぬという、わらわの魔法から巣立つということだ。
そうだな。そういうことになるな。
わらわは六軒島を魔女の島とわらわの島と呼んできた。
そうだったな。
その六軒島がわらわに黄金を魔法を返すという。
And is now preparing its wings to fly freely.
六軒島が魔法から目覚める日が来たということだ。
そうだな。
最後のゲームと分かってはいたさ。しかしこういう形ではあってもそれを切り出されるとは意外に応えるものよ。
お前って結構さっぱりしてそうに見えて未練タラタラなタイプなのな。
Down to a T.
残忍で必要なタイプは大抵は寂しがり屋で未練がましいものよ。
Down to a T-O and Riche.
そうだな。お前はそういうやつだもんな。
わらわとそなたのためのゲームだった。
楽しかったぜ。お前が6年の間に練りに練った愉快なゲームだった。
かつてわらわはそれを互いを苛む永遠の拷問と称したっけな。
永遠が永遠であると信じられるうちが一番幸せなのさ。物事には全て終わりがある。そしてそれを自覚しなければならない。
目を背けずにな。
But what if I don't have eyes? That would imply that I don't see the end in sight. Meaning that it can be endless as far as I'm concerned. Yo. Each part, I take one step forward towards its conclusion. It is inevitable indeed.
昇らぬ日はないように、沈まぬ日もねえってことさ。
Of course, Banji didn't have the slightest idea what her brother and the witch were talking about. However, even as young as she was, she could feel that the pair had spent an incredibly long time together, and that they understood each other so well that they might as well be a married couple. And then, Beato noticed her reaction.
レンジェ、わらわたちはかつて互いのためにゲームを紡いだ。しかしそれはもう終わった。このゲームは今わらわたちのためでなくそなたのために紡がれているのだ。
They were talking in riddles again. Grasping the key that hung by her chest, Angie looked at her brother's face.
今日という日の猫箱の中身を俺たちはエンジェに届けなくちゃならない。お前に持たせたその鍵は猫箱を開くための鍵なんだよ。
猫箱って？
今日という日のことだ。
エンジェがあれほどたどり着きたいと願った今日に、お兄ちゃんは魔法の奇跡でエンジェを招いた。エンジェは最後の魔女として今日という日を語り継がなくちゃいけない。
それは私がここに残ってはいけないということ？
Angie's tone was slightly tense. She understood what her brother meant, and it made her frown.
私は1986年の六軒島へたどり着きたくてどれほど長い間苦しんだことか。そして私はやっとたどり着いたの。なのにそれを追い出すの？お兄ちゃんは言ったわ。私が自分で決めていいって。
そうだな、確かにそう言った。
帰らないわよ私は。そしてまるで私を甘やかすかのようなこのおかしな作られた物語もやめて。私は今日という日の真実を知りたいの。
12年を経ても遡りても気難しい女であるな。
うるさいわね。あんたには聞いてないわよ。それにあんたこそ何よそのざまは。黄金の魔女は復活の儀式のためにやってきたんじゃないの？雷鳴と共に島に現れ、これから13人もの人々を生贄に捧げようとしてるんでしょ？そのあんたがなんでこんなにものんびり団らんしてるのよ。わけがわかんない。
わけがわからぬのはそなたの方であるぞ。なんだそなたは。わらわにそんなにも人殺しがしてほしいのか。
あんたはそれを物語に記してメッセージボトルに封じて海に投じたわ。 後の世界にはそのうちの2本が伝わってる。どちらもひどい連続殺人の物語じゃない。
2本しか流れ着かなかったとは残念残念。一番の力作だったランドが人目に触れなかったのは残念なことだ。
Land.
前から聞きたかったんだが、あのメッセージボトルは何なんだ？
Land of the Golden Witch. Wasn't it that one episode that Urukishi wrote initially for episode 3, but decided on rewriting it because the readers complained the first two were like really hard. I think that was it, right?
そなたとのゲームを練りながら、その過程で生み出した派生の物語のようなものよ。一つのゲーム版から異なる複数の物語を無限に紡ぎ出せることに気づき、面白くなってしまってな。
いつか俺に読ませようと書き溜めてたわけか。
あまりの力作にそなたを待つのが惜しくなってな。孤島物の古典に習い、わらわもそれを瓶に封じて海に投じてみたのだ。ミステリアスであろう。
バカにしないで。あれはあんたの犯行計画書よ。あなたは黄金のありかをちらつかせながら親族の不和を煽り、残酷な連続殺人事件を目論むのよ。
やれやれ、1998年ではわらわはそういうことになっておるのか。なるほど、無理もないことであるな。
はあ？何を開き直ってんのよ。私を拍子抜けさせようと目論んでるの？私は騙されないわよ、ベアトリーチェ。お兄ちゃん、私に魔女はいると屈服させたいんでしょ？その手には乗るもんですか？私はお兄ちゃんの手なんか借りなくたって一人で真実にたどり着いてみせる。
ここがその真実であるというのにか。そなたはかつてグレーテルと名乗ったが、どうやらミチルと名乗った方がふさわしいようだぞ。
いい加減にして。
Angie tried to slap Bato's cheek. However, the difference between their heights was so great that Bato dodged before the hand could reach her.
バカバカしい。バカバカしい。私は認めないわよ。こんな茶番が真実なんて絶対に認めないんだから。
After Angie yelled those words, her eyes grew cloudy. They cleared up almost immediately. By that time, she had already gone back to her 6-year-old self.
そうだな、エンジェ。それがわらわが残した罪であり、最後の物語を用意する理由なのだ。
As Angie stared blankly, uncomprehending, Bato gently patted her head.
そうとも、この物語は茶番である。真実であろうはずもない。しかしそれでも、いや、そうしてでも、そなたにはどうしても伝えたいことがあるのだ。
ベアト、それはもう俺が伝えてる。それ以上は無理強いしたくない。
そうか。
お兄ちゃんたちが何の話をしているのかわかんない。エンジェもう眠いよ。
そうだな。俺たちはおいとました方が良さそうだ。
金蔵よ、わらわはまだここにいなければならぬのか。
おすまぬ。そなたはもう少しここにおれ。続けるぞクラウス。それでだが、福音の家への援助についてはクラウスが後宮家当主の義務としてこれを継続し。
やれやれ、すまんなバトラー。 わらわは送ってやれぬようだ。源氏よ、この二人をゲストハウスまで送ってやってくれぬか。
かしこまりました。バトラ様、エンジェ様、ご案内いたします。
ありがとう。じゃあな、ベアト。後で。
うん。そなたとは語りたいことが山ほどだ。それに今夜は水入らずで過ごしたいぞ。たまには夫婦らしいこともせぬとな。
なんだよ、夫婦らしいことって。
Are you sure this is something to be discussed in front of baby Angie? Because Angie had gotten so bored, she had grown very sleepy. It would probably be best for her to take a quick nap. Valor walked through the windy rose garden, pulling her by the hand. When he questioned their guide, Genji, he learned that the old servant had known beforehand of Kinzo's desire to return the gold to battle, and settle the inheritance problem early.
親方様は人生を終えるという最後の仕事の準備をお始めになったということでございます。
自分が死んだ後のことなんて人は普通考えないぜ。やっぱじいさまはスケールが一つ違うぜ。
今日は後ろ宮家が黄金の魔女の庇護から飛び立つ新しい飛翔の日なのでございます。
確かに。かっこいい言い方だな。
Apparently, a grand Halloween party was to be held tonight. Halloween party? And Goda and the others had been ordered to start getting ready for it. However, it wouldn't just be a party. It would be a ceremony to mark the return of Beatrice's gold. At the start of dinner, grandfather would make the announcement, and the Ushinomiya family would give thanks and applause to the 3 generations of Beatrices for their generosity over the years. Apparently, this was what he had planned. Ooh, wait. Halloween party? Well, if it's gonna continue to be wholesome, then I better make some preparations for it.
親父たちにはまだそれは秘密なんすか？
一応は秘密にしております。ただ、親方様のお考えは唐突に今日思いついたものではありません。もう何年も前から今日という日について考えを重ねられ、時にご兄弟の皆様に相談もされておりました。おそらく今宵の発表に驚かれる方はいないでしょう。
うちのクソ親父、どうやら会社のことで金の工面が大変そうだし、じいさまからのちょいと早い遺産のプレゼントに舞い上がっちまうかな。
むしろ大きな責任に奮い立たれるでしょう。ルドルフ様は島を出られ、大成し見事な成功を収められました。しかしそれは親方様の財産によって支えられたものです。
それが唐突に遺産をドンと出され、これからはお前の力だけで頑張るのだぞとなるわけか。かえってプレッシャーがあるかもな。
ご兄弟の皆様は親方様というあまりに偉大すぎる父親にもう何十年も苦しんできました。
I mean, alongside the pressure that he already has from his wife Kiri, am I right?
偉大すぎる親はただ存在するだけで子には重しになるものなのです。
それが今夜本当の意味で一人前になって巣立つってわけだ。
親方様は今宵を黄金の返還式とお呼びになるようです。ですが最初は 生前葬と呼ぼうと考えておいででした。
生前の葬式じゃなんだか落ち込んじまう。新しい出発の日、巣立ちの日って方が確かに後宮家にはぴったりだぜ。
お兄ちゃん眠い。
ほら、もうゲストハウスに着くよ。
Oh, you're so precious. You're so precious. You are so sleepy right now. We should tuck you in bed.
お母さんの部屋へ行くか、それともいとこ部屋に？
どこでもいい。晩ご飯まで寝てる。
Baby Angie. Angie is still holding her brother's hand, crouched down and looked as though she was about to fall asleep. Battle lifted her onto his back and carried her. Yeah, she felt the warmth and safety of her brother's back. Angie drifted off into sleep. I mean, I'm surprised that she's still like asleep right now. It looked like she fell like face into the ground there. What happened that day? Just what on earth happened on October 4th and 5th, 1986? And because of the massive size of the Rokkenjima explosion accident, the time the explosion occurred was known almost exactly, down to the minute. The time was the stroke of midnight on October 5th. The sheer improbability of that time proved that the explosion was produced by artificial means. Later on, the following statements were collected from individuals who knew Ushirimiya Kinzo when he was alive. During his lifetime, Ushirimiya Kinzo built a clock rigged to blow up the island at exactly midnight. This clock was apparently inside his secret study. When he felt mentally cornered and wanted to think up a brilliant plan, he would activate that device and use the tension of the approaching midnight to bring some flash of inspiration to him. While Ushirimiya Kinzo still lived, and this was only thought of as a tall tale about this eccentric man. But the fact that the Rokkenjima explosion accident occurred at exactly midnight supported the story.
クレイジーな話だわ。
その狂気の狭間に魔法めいた力を求めたに違いありません。
Bruh. Hello there, Otsuki.
精神的な瞬発力とでも言えば、そう眉唾な話でもないでしょう。
Professor Otsuki spoke passionately. Witch hunters, enthusiasts who treat the mad fantasy surrounding Rokkenjima as their plaything. Angie had no reason to love these people, who embellished the deaths of her family just for the fun of it. A part of me thinks that right now we're continuing with the sequel to the Umineko steamed hams, now that we're talking to this guy. I mean, we could have like a dynamic between Angie and Juza in the form of Seymour and the superintendent.
Seymour, those string beans were cooked to perfection. After 20 years, I am finally starting to like you.
Just wait for dessert, sir. I made it with you in mind.
Outstanding. I'll just shut my eyes and let you place it before me.
And yet, how ironic it was for Angie, who wanted to know what happened that day. That these people were the ones who knew most about that island.
その仕掛けを使えば、島を跡形なく吹き飛ばすことができる。後には何も残らない。あそこで何があったとしても、なかったことにできる。
後宮エバ氏が何がしかの陰謀の首謀者であるとする説は早くからささやかれてきました。しかしあれだけの大爆発をいかにして起こしたのかが説明できずにいました。
その仕掛け時計によりそれが可能であったことが証明された。
さようです。後宮エバ氏は24時に爆発すること、そしてその爆発半径について十分に理解した上でクワドリアンに避難していたと考えられます。
財産を独り占めにするためにみんなを殺して爆発によってその痕跡を消した。
そう考えると六軒島のミステリーは最も筋が通ります。エヴァ氏があの日あの島で何があったのか語ろうとしないことにも合点がいくわけです。
Where was that rigged clock? And how did Eva find it? Several forgeries have speculated on this matter. There's no need for me to waste time thinking about it. Eva activated the clock device, hitting Dōjin to escape the blast. I was therefore the only one to survive. That was everything. The answer, which eloquently told the whole story. When Eva first adopted me, our relationship wasn't as bad as it later became. I asked her several times, what happened that day? Every single time she answered, it was to say that she didn't remember. But, well, she must have been flustered at the time. The very first time I asked, she answered like this. I cannot tell you about it. It was a slip of the tongue. She knew what happened that day. And she left this world without telling even a bit of the truth. She sealed the truth in a cat box and left this world, taking the key with her. There can be only one answer. She was behind everything. She got all the family wealth to herself and became super rich. And afterward, she lamented the fact that her beloved son would never inherit any of what she had created. And she cursed me. And just remembering that old bitch makes me want to vomit. What happened that day? And that's what I want to know. It's my only goal, the one reason I'm still alive. However, later on, I had to come to grips with the fact that my goal was an abstract one. After all, even if I don't know what happened that day, as for who did the crime, the whodunit, that is already clear. Ushiromiya Eva. She is the culprit. And that has never changed since the beginning. Yes, I'm not trying to find out what happened that day. I'm trying to find out what Ushiromiya Eva did that day. If I can reveal that, then I can expose Eva's evil, even though she has already died. That is my true goal. And the police also suspected that the crime might have taken place, and they did investigate. However, no matter how much they inspected the crater that had once been Rokkenjima, they didn't find anything at all. The public and the witch hunters cornered Eva with several pieces of circumstantial evidence, but they were unable to find a single piece of physical evidence. And so, though Eva was only the merest fraction of a shade away from guilty, they were unable to expose her crime. My goal isn't anything as vague as learning what happened that day. It's to expose the crime Ushiromiya Eva committed that day, and to have my revenge. I cannot expose Ushiromiya Eva's crime, so people are treating the events on the island as though some bizarre golden witch did it all. Defeating the golden witch means exposing Ushiromiya Eva's crime for what it was. I won't forgive Ushiromiya Eva. I swear, I will hate her and take revenge for my family. That is Ushiromiya Anji's one and only reason for living.
それだけ嫌われりゃ会長もあの世で笑いが止まらねえでしょうぜ。
Hi there, Juzo. It has been a while since I've seen you, like, again.
うるさいわね。あのクソババアの罪を暴くのよ。
Man, being in the car with you two, it brings me back some good old memories. I can remember when Angie was being chased by the agents. You know, when was it that The Matrix first got released? It was in 1999, right? And we are here doing the exact same thing that happened in that first movie.